Oh, well and truly on here, the Shelter FootyCast Southern River Band. Brad Hogg joins us. Hoggy, what do you reckon of the Southern River Band? Do you like them?
I like them. That was a good little tune to start off the show today, and I'm loving it. So, and we're not talking footy today, apparently. We're talking cricket.
That's correct. So it's not the Shelter FootyCast, the Shelter SportsCast. This is officially the first episode of the Shelter SportsCast, Hoggy. So thanks for joining us, mate.
Mate, you could have gone for a higher standard first up.
No, absolutely not. So I do have to touch on quickly the Southern River Band boys. They're on a national tour. Lads out of Thornley, WA, so locally brewed and born here in WA, just like Shelter. They're on a national tour just after they're fresh off their tour with The Darkness. Do you know The Darkness?
No, I don't know The Darkness, but these guys are just around the corner from me. So,
yes, we love it.
We're going to have to catch up with them.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. We can do that. So they're going to be playing down at Shelter at the brewery down there in Busso on the 2nd of December. So that's locked in. It's Friday. It's a Friday night. So we're going to have to get down there, get everyone who listens to this down there, get the tickets. DJ Genga has been locked in. I'm sure Hoggy knows all about DJ Genga. Tickets available on the events page of the Shelter Brewing Co website, shelterbrewing.com.au. It's available via our links on bio. Follow us on socials. You know where to get it. But that's some big news for the Southern River Band boys. Now, let's get out of that. Let's get into some action. Okay, great.
Yeah, DJ Genga, he's not from the West Indies. He's not that bugger that made 100 against us in the second test match in Trinidad.
I hope it is. I tell you what, if it is, it's going to be a bloody good. Isn't it DJ Bravo? DJ Bravo. Yeah, he's got a singing career going, doesn't he?
He does, but when he signed for the Big Bash and had to get his music played on the within the arena, I just thought that was a little bit too much.
Very good. So it is brought to you by Shelter, born and brewed in Busselton. We're going to get into it. It's no longer the Shelter FootyCast, Shelter SportsCast. So we've got the T20 World Cup we're going to preview today. We've got the World Cup coming up, the round ball game. We've got the Big Bash stuff, which I think Hoggy's going to maybe come through and do some stuff with us there as well. So there's plenty going on for summer. I was going to start with, though, given that we've come from footy season, are you a footy fan, Hoggy?
Yeah, I'm a Freo Docker, so you and I are going to have some arguments if we work well together.
We don't mind the Dockers here at the Shelter FootyCast / SportsCast. Flag mantle. Yeah. Did you hear that this year, flag mantle? Did you hear that getting bandied around?
Yeah, I did. I thought we were going to get there at the end, but I just thought we run out of legs out the back end. Just the tall forwards, not having enough tall forwards out there that final hurdle.
So you're happy with Luke Jackson signing with the footy club, the big ruckman from Melbourne to a tall ruckman, forward ruckman?
Yeah, I'm happy with that. If Rory Lobb didn't want to stay here and he was having his issues down there, we'll move on. But look, at the end of the day, I was watching a few of the games with Rory Lobb. You watch on TV, you don't see the work rate off the ball as much as you see when you're actually out there live.
Yeah.
When he goes on the ball, the work rate that he does, especially defensively, the games that I watch, was unbelievable. But then he has to go forward. He doesn't really get much of a rest. And then you're expecting him to take a mark in the first couple of seconds that he's back in that forward line. And it's pretty tough when you're not getting that recovery.
Very good. Now, we've been keeping abreast of your work across YouTube, Hoggy, across social media. If you've become an absolute, you're a superstar on the pitch, and you've become an even bigger superstar off the pitch. I mean, what can you just tell us before we get into this World Cup preview? What's your sort of audience? What are you doing on YouTube? I see all sorts of stuff popping up. It's bloody good.
Yeah, it's around the cricket realm, but it's probably more tailored to the Indian audience at the moment. There's a billion people over there. You play a bit of IPL, and that's where all the action is now. You've got the subcontinent, Pakistan as well, and that's the centre of cricket at this stage. I think Cricket Australia, cricket in general, I better be careful now that I'm on the board of the WACA, but I just thought we were a little bit lackadaisy 15 years ago when Australia were having that boom period.
Yes.
And you just can't rely on India. You've got to look to try and finance yourself and make sure you grow your product on your own terms. You're not relying on other countries, and I think that's where we've fallen into a bit of a trap over the last 5-10 years.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, thank you for joining us here on the Shelter Sportscast, Hoggy. Hopefully you're going to be a bit of a semi-regular part of this. You haven't agreed to that, but we'll see how we go.
We'll see how we go.
Now, I want to get straight pretty much into the World Cup here, Dan. Yep. So gonna get into this. Brad Hogg, Will Schofield, Shelter Sportscast, getting into the World Cup preview after this. Just a little bit more Southern River Band for you there, Hoggy. I know you bloody love it. Now, the current standings, so the way the World Cup works is you've got teams vying to get into that Super 12. So you've got two groups still playing. Group A is confirmed, Sri Lanka, Netherlands, through to the next stage. Were they the two best in that group? Namibia was around abouts, but they butchered it last night.
Yeah, they butchered it last night, but I always thought that Sri Lanka and Netherlands were going to get through.
Yeah.
I thought Ryan Campbell, local West Australian, has done a fantastic job over there in the Netherlands, and thank Christ he got through that little health scare that he had over in England.
Absolutely.
Yeah. A little bit concerned about those issues when they happen with your teammates, especially with what's going on with Australian cricket over the last 6 months.
That was 6 months ago, wasn't it? Because he had his...
no, I think it was only about 2 or 3 months, but time flies. But, we've lost so many cricketers, so it's good to see Ryan have success there.
Yeah.
And hopefully that just springs on future opportunities for him in the coaching realm. I thought Sri Lanka, in that first game, they thought they were on a bit of a high coming from the Asia Cup victory against Pakistan in that final over there, and I just thought they took things a little bit too easy.
Right.
And when they fell behind, they weren't playing their natural game. When you just look at the strokes that they were playing, they were coming across the line rather than hitting in the areas where the boundaries were bigger, but there was more space there. They were still trying to they thought they could power the minnows as such.
Yeah, because they lost that first game, right? And people were like, "Oh, that group's wide open."
Well, they thought they could power over that short boundary, and they lost it from day one or in that first game because they were taking it too easy. They weren't prepared.
So those two teams will be through to the Super 12s, which starts this weekend. Group B, which have got a couple of games to come today. So this podcast will come out Friday lunchtime. You'll see these two games in action today. Ireland, West Indies, Scotland, Zimbabwe. Every team in this group has won a game. So the winners of these two games goes through. It's sudden death. It's good. It's exciting.
It is. And it's great to see the likes of Scotland and Namibia really challenge the test-playing nations. And it'll be very exciting if Scotland get through to the next phase and knock off Zimbabwe, they're playing today, and the West Indies against Ireland.
Who wins that one?
I'm actually hoping Ireland out at the moment because West Indies are in a world of hurt out at the moment. And they've got so many players.
Keep going, mate. Hoggy's got his Southern River Band ringtone out the background.
It's so relaxed.
It's actually quite nice.
It is. It makes me not want to answer the phone, actually.
So you reckon Ireland will knock off West Indies?
Yeah, I'm hoping that because Ireland have worked so hard to get where they're at the moment. They've done a great job, and they should be rewarded for it. Whereas the West Indies at the moment, as I was saying, we're in a world of hurt. They don't have their main players, or they've got players that are going to play T20 tournaments around the globe, and they're not putting West Indies cricket first. But at the end of the day, they're making more money playing the T20 tournaments, and this is another subject for another podcast.
When you're back, Hoggy.
Where we've got to figure out where we want cricket to head. Do we want T20 tournaments, or are we more interested in the international stuff? And I think West Indies is a good project to look at in that regard.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Okay. See you later, West Indies. Hoggy says Ireland's going to win.
I don't like it. Jason Holder's one of my favourite teammates I've ever played with. I hope he has a bit of success, but at the end of the day, I think Ireland should get rewarded.
All right. I like that very much so. So thought we'd have a little bit of a preview of this first weekend of games, and then if I can just throw you some little summaries of each team that's probably going to be in that top 8 or so of this World Cup. So this weekend there's some big games coming up. This is when the real stuff starts. I know the World Cup started last weekend, but it's effectively qualifying, right? You've got the teams getting through. Australia v New Zealand, Saturday, 3 p.m. at the SCG. Big game.
Oh, it's a huge game. The thing with New Zealand I'm worried about is they want to play Allen instead of Guptill, and Mitchell's injured. Now, Guptill and Mitchell apart from Williamson, are probably the only players or the batsmen in their lineup that can really challenge our bowling attack.
Right.
The others average very low with bowlers bowling 140 plus. So that's a big concern for New Zealand. But the plus for them is we've got a lot of right-handers in our batting lineup, and that brings their spinners into play in Santner and Sodhi. But I'm not too worried about Sodhi. It's more Santner just tying it up in those middle overs.
So you reckon that pace from Australia is going to really challenge them?
Yep, definitely. The pace from Australia is going to be too much for them. The only way that New Zealand will stay in this game is with their power play bowling, Bolt getting the ball to swing, and the use of Lockie Ferguson, how they use him. Do they use him in the power play for a couple of overs, or do they go with Southey as well? If the ball's not moving, they've got to go with Ferguson. But they've got to get early wickets. They've got to get at least 3 wickets in the power play to trouble Australia. And if they do that, that's when Santner and Sodhi come into their game in the middle overs. That's the only way New Zealand will win this.
I hope everyone's taking notes here, because you wouldn't be copying this sort of analysis from Will Schofield. I tell you that right now. It's bloody good stuff, mate. England v Afghanistan. That's the first game of the real stuff here in Perth. That's tomorrow night, 7 p.m. You're working that game?
I'm working that game. This is going to be a very interesting game. People will expect Afghanistan not to trouble England.
Right.
But England like to chase. Afghanistan like to put a score on the board. The Afghanistan batters were raffled against the Pakistan bowlers the other night, especially Shaheen Afridi.
Yeah.
He was just nailing those
Teeing
toes.
off.
Yeah, he was just unbelievable. The Afghanistan batsmen were scared. The only concern with Afghanistan batting is facing wood. Other than that, the other bowlers don't have that pace to really trouble them.
So you think if Afghanistan come out and have a bat,
if they bat, get about 150 on the board, maybe 140 might be enough. England really struggle against spin, and they've got 3 quality spinners in their lineup.
Rashid Khan, one of the best in the business.
Yeah, but you've got Mujeeb Rahman, who's very good in the power play. If you can use Quay as the other leg spinner wisely early on with their medium paces, and they can tie up the England batsmen or make them be chasing about 8 and over when Rashid Khan comes on and around about the 10th over, because they like to use him in that back end, then all of a sudden England have to take on one of the best bowlers in the world. That's where Afghanistan can really win this game.
Are you telling me Afghanistan's a chance, Hoggy?
Yeah. If I'm gonna look at an upset over the weekend or an upset in this World Cup, that's probably an upset that can happen, because the England batsmen aren't that good against leg spin. And it's one of Butler's weaknesses as well. Hales is not good against spin, so expect Quayers and Rahman to be bowling most of their overs in the power play.
I've got to be honest. I picked Namibia as my dark horse. So they've been knocked out. They've absolutely butchered it last night. So I'm now on Afghanistan. Okay, so that's my team. That's my team in the tournament, other than Australia, of course. The other big game of the weekend, Pakistan v India. It's a sellout at the MCG. It has been confirmed. 100,000 tickets been sold. Melbourne, typical weather. I think weather's going to be an issue, maybe, which would be really disappointing for the game, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, how good's that as a spectacle? India, Pakistan, MCG.
I think this is bigger than the Ashes now.
Really?
Well, they don't play enough against each other.
Yeah.
I think it's been about 10 years since they played a test match against each other. This is one of the biggest rivalries, and they really go hard at each other on the field, but they really get on off the field as well. So,
really?
So all the politics that you see around the world, it doesn't happen in the cricket.
Is that because of all the tournaments that have been played everywhere?
Yeah. No, they just love the game of cricket, and cricket's a religion in both countries, and that's where you can bring both cultures together. That's what I love about it. But when we get in the analysis of it, India have got a longer batting lineup with where they've got more power out the back end. Pakistan, they rely on Rizwan and Babar Azam up the top to bat the majority of the overs. Their middle order is a bit of hit and miss. Sometimes they have a day out, sometimes they don't. More so they don't. So that's probably the issue for me. But where Pakistan are strong in the power play overs, they've got good spin, but they're very good out the death as well. So their death bowling against India's death batting is going to be a big equation in this game. Whoever wins that contest has a better chance of winning. But also you go back to the power play overs. Both teams have got quality swing bowlers in those power play overs. So, this is where the strength is. Pakistan in their bowling, India in their batting. Generally, I go for a bowling team.
I was going to say, who you're landing on here.
But with India's batting depth, they've just got probably two more batters than Pakistan. And I just think two more batters rather than one more batter is just too much for a bowling team to defend.
Favourites of the tournament, India?
Favourites of the tournament.
Like, have they come in publicly as you know, the ones to beat?
Now that England have lost Topley, that Mills comes in, I still think England are the favourites. I still reckon there could be an upset against Afghanistan, but I still reckon they'll do enough to win this tournament. The way they played against Australia at Optus Stadium was unbelievable, but they're not going to face that pace here. They're going to be facing spin, so it's a different equation there. And they've got the highest strike rate with their batting. And they bat really deep. They've got a lot of all-rounders in there. And now that Mills comes in, it just strengthens up their death bowling. So I think England are the favourites. India, without Bumrah and Jadeja. Jadeja, people might think that's a bit weird, but he's one of the best fielders. And with our big grounds, he's quick, athletic, good arm. India's fielding has dropped off a lot there, so you haven't really got someone to put in hot spots. So Boomer and Jadeja out for India sort of puts them around about third for me on the list. So England favourites, Australia 2, India, Pakistan for me.
Okay, very good. There you go. That's a little preview of this weekend. There's a lot of games coming up. Who are you going to be covering the games with, Hoggy?
Goss, Tim Gossage.
So, over at SEN?
Yeah, over at SEN, so I might get a word in.
That's good. Cricket's a bloody hard game to commentate. Like, you got to do a lot of talking. You got to have a lot of words sitting down, up there in the brain to spit out. It's not as high paced. I mean, 2020 is different to a Test match, of course.
We'll try and do a 2020 game where one innings went for 2 hours 10 minutes. 2 hours 10 minutes for 20 overs.
Wow.
My godfather. So that was difficult.
Yeah.
That was difficult.
Yeah.
But lucky it was on TV because then you can
couple of ad breaks.
But you don't have to talk as much on TV, whereas on
people
radio,
are watching.
Yeah. So, and I think that's a good rule that they're bringing in the Big Bash. You've got to bowl your overs within 79 minutes.
Yes.
I don't know why they said 79. Why can't you just say 80? But
what's going on there? 79 minutes. Because I did see a rule, and I don't know if this is across all tournaments. You'll be able to tell me if you go over your limit. There's fielding restrictions in game.
No, I think that's great.
That's awesome
because you get fined. Some of these guys are making millions. A $5,000 fine is not going to be much for them.
Yeah.
Whereas when you've got 4 fielders only allowed out of the ring, that's a huge punishment.
It happens late at the end of the innings as well. Like it was something like every minute is a ball or something like that.
Yep. And I think that's great.
Yeah.
I think every minute should be an over. Really. Or you should have 3 minutes an over for an over delayed. But if you're late by 1 minute, that's the whole over. So it starts out that first.
Is that a bit harsh? Not everyone has a Bradley Hogg just absolutely whipping through his overs like you used to.
Yeah, but this is where the umpires have got to be on the ball as well, because they've got to make sure they monitor the batsman as well, because the batsman can.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, they can manipulate it, because I remember a game out against Melbourne Stars out the MCG, and I had a crack at the umpire. We got 2 early wickets, and I said, "You got to hurry up these batsmen." And he goes, "No, they're all right." I said, "Well, they haven't swapped over on the boundary line. The bloke was still sitting down when the batsman's walked off, and our fast bowlers were at the top of their mark, waiting for the batsman to be ready." And he said, no, we've got it covered. You won't have to worry about it. I said, don't tell me when I come on the 7th over that I've got to hurry up and we're 1 over behind. And he did. And
he tell you to hurry up?
Yeah, and that was it. The old smile on Brad Hogg was not on there then. I gave him a serve, and then I had to go to the match referee afterwards. And yeah, and these are the things.
What'd you tell him?
Well, I told him he wasn't doing his job. I was polite. I was, I was trying to be calm negotiator, but yeah. If there's a hostage situation, the hostages were gone the way I was negotiating there.
Yeah. Oh, that's very good stuff. There's the weekend preview. We're going to get into this, Hoggy.
Yep.
I just want to hear your thoughts about each team. We had a bit of that just then with a few of the guys, but Afghanistan, we'll start with them. ICC ranking coming in is 10. They've got some stars you speak about. You think these guys are a real upset machine, right?
Yeah, they are. They really rely heavily on their top order and their spin bowling, but they've got some good swing bowlers there, especially Fazal Faruqi, left armour, and Al Haq. He's not bad with the ball as well. They can do a job with a new ball, but when it comes to the death overs, that's where they're going to get punished, and that's why they're trying to use two spinners up front and try and save Rashid out the back end, because he's your best bowler. And you want, with the big grounds over here in Australia, going after a leg spinner of that quality is going to be quite difficult. So they're trying to use him in a different phase of what other teams would use, Rashid. So, yeah, they're pretty good. But as a drone, if we go back down there, who is he? Where is he? He's Zazi. Zazi.
Oh, yes.
I think he opens the batting left-hander. If he gets them off to a good start, they can really do some damage. So it's really Zazi and the spinners that can really trouble opposition teams.
That's Scully's team. Afghanistan, very good. Australia. So you've got these probably higher than some people have. They're defending champions. They come in ranked 6. Some people are saying they're underdogs. Some people, you say they've got the team to challenge.
Oh, look, I wrote them off last time in the UAE. The reason why I wrote them off is because they're chopping and changing their team all the time.
Haven't they done that a bit coming into this tournament?
Yeah, they have, and it's kind of frustrating. And we can talk about Pat Cummins just being named one-day captain. Well, if you're going to be named one-day captain, you can't be pulling out of tournaments around the globe. And if you want to decide who's going to sponsor Cricket Australia or not as captain, you want to be the marketing man, well, it's time for you to be on the field a lot more than what you are.
Okay, good.
Pat Cummins was a good teammate, but I just think it's gone too far one way now.
Yeah.
Because, you want to make as much money as you possibly can, but at the end of the day, if it wasn't for Cricket Australia and grassroots cricket here in Australia, you wouldn't be where you are now and earning the money you are now.
Well, I mean, that's the interesting talking point about this, because we've covered it on radio this week, is, okay, I'm being a former player, you're a former player, you know how it works. It's, money makes the world go round. That's how it works. But also, it's not just you getting your pockets lined as a player or me getting paid money. It goes bigger than the team as well. It's bigger than the Australian cricket team. It's grassroots. It's the actual sport. And when you're in a leadership position like he is, Pat Cummins, like he is the matriarch. He's like, he's the top dog. So he represents the sport, not just his cricket team. He's not just the captain of 11 men.
Yeah, well, he can't really come out and make a decision on sponsors either. It's fair enough if you don't agree with a sponsor, or you've got something that doesn't allow you to follow the sponsor. So we've had that with beer sponsors where Muslims don't wear their that sponsor on their shirts. That happens in Australia and South Africa. That's fine, and it's probably better for the sponsor as well, because where's the sponsor's logo on there? Rightio, it's VB. So you see
Shelter.
It a lot more.
It's Shelter.
Because at the end of the day, if one player is making a decision about something political, well, what about the other players in your team that have different opinions or are still questioning certain things?
Yes.
This is where it's starting to get on a bit of a fine line in that regard. And I say that as a past player, not in my role down out the Waco. It's as a past player, because you're in there as a team.
Yeah.
There's marketing people out there that are working their backsides off to try and make us financial as we possibly can.
Yeah. Well, that's what I would say. The line, it's difficult for you, given you different roles, but it's difficult to define where that sits. I mean, it always goes out more than just the players on the field. Like there is teams and teams and teams of people. There is levels of cricket from 4-year-old kids, women and men. Like it's not just a logo on a shirt out there playing in the World Cup. Like, it's more than that, right?
Oh, exactly right. And we can talk about footy too in this with what's happening down out Freo. Well, you want to do the right thing by the world and so forth, but there's so much that's involved in sport on a social aspect that you can challenge just about any sponsor with their social position in society, and you've got to be very careful with that.
Yeah,
you've got your own beliefs, but at the end of the day, you've got to have a respect for the rest of your teammates and the players that are coming through the levels that are going to take your cap in 10 years' time.
So Netball Australia have had the same thing go on with the Diamonds, with their relationship with Roy Hill, and you know, in fairness, the Diamonds have doubled down and said, well, we're going with them. Fremantle, as you said, there's been a group of fans and a couple of past players come through with Rio Tinto.
Woodside, wasn't it?
Woodside, yeah. And they've doubled down on them, so they'll be there. Continue to be sponsors with them. So they've come out today and going to be co-jumpered with Bank West. No, that's just come out today. And then you've got the cricket stuff. So certainly interesting dynamic in sport. It's not just cricket. It's where society and sport is mingling and beliefs, and it's going to be a moving piece. Be interesting to keep track of, and I love that we've actually got into this. So we're going to have a little quick break while we get back into the World Cup preview. Will Schofield, Brad Hogg covering all the big topics on the Shelter SportsCast.
Can't believe I crossed my legs. Water bottle.
That's okay. We're going to have waters. That's okay. You're on the Shelter FootyCast.
You can't see it.
So we've got Afghanistan as HOGG'S little
just before that, I was crossing my legs to try and cover a water bottle down here. So if you're wondering why I'm sort of just...
I just thought it was just...
Now I can be a little bit more relaxed.
Yeah, of course you can be relaxed here, mate. Very good. So, Afghanistan, we've gone through those. We started with Australia, but let's get into the cricket side. That's the off-field side of things. Cricket, Australia, can they get this done?
Cricket Australia,
no, as in the Australian cricket team. Can they win this tournament?
Yeah. When you said Cricket Australia, I was still talking about politics. No, I think they can. Let's just scroll back down there. Thanks, buddy. Beautiful. There we go. Ranking 6. Ranking 6, the ICC ranking 6. Yep. Yeah, but that's because they're chopping and changing their team all the time, and they're giving others a go. But Finch finding a bit of form, that's great for them. Warner opening the batting. Do they play Smith or not? I wouldn't play Smith. I'd have Marsh coming in at 3, Maxwell still out 4, Stoinis 5, Wade 6, David 7, and then you go with your bowlers. And the big question mark there is, do you go Cummins or Richardson? I think Richardson's probably a better T20 bowler than Cummins. He's played a lot more T20 cricket, and sometimes I just think you got to have that little bit of a sacrifice. But that'll be later on in the tournament. I wouldn't do that against New Zealand, but I'd pick my team to do that, and I'd probably play Richardson against a team like England, who have a high strike rate, because he's probably a better death bowler. Do
you like Cam Green coming in instead of backup keeper?
I want to have a look at the golf shaft. I want to have
There's been a few queries if there's actually an injury or not.
Look, for me, if you're having a replacement player within the tournament, it's got to be a like-for-like player. So if they've had a spare wicketkeeper in there, you should always have a spare wicketkeeper in there. If you don't, and you lose a keeper, well,
can't they just bring in another keeper if they do lose?
Yeah, but I don't think you should be able to do that. It should be a like for like replacement, because at the end of the day, you're taking the mickey out of it. Someone's just had a good run with form. You didn't pick him out at the start in your first 15, so why even have squads? So you can just do whatever you want.
Yeah. Just say that you snapped a golf club in your hand.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, you said that, not me. And I hope it's not another West Australian being taken down the shaft again.
Pardon the pun.
Oh, yeah, I tell you what. Yeah,
I need to keep you on track here, Hoggy.
I know, because I was going to tweet something about, he's got a hand injury on the golf course, and I was just thinking, right, too many strokes, mate. Come on.
Very good. All right, so where do you have Australia? Can you say?
Yeah, no, I've got them second.
Oh,
yeah. Are we going to Bangladesh?
Absolutely. We're going to alphabetical order, Hoggy. Bangladesh.
Bangladesh, I just can't see them making any inroads in this tournament. And to be quite frank, someone like Ireland or Scotland coming through, if they're going to play against Bangladesh, I think there could be a few upsets there.
Right.
I just think they've got a lot of work to do. They don't like the bouncier wickets over here as well. But this is the other thing. You look at Afghanistan and Bangladesh, they don't get enough cricket at the higher level. They don't get enough tours to come to the places like South Africa, England and Australia. So how are they going to improve? So if you're not going to play them in your frontline team, get them to come over and play your second 11 team, those up-and-coming players, to build your depth but also grow the game around the world. So, yeah.
Okay, that's very good. I like that. Can't challenge that at all. Here we go, the big dogs, England. They've come in ranked 2 ICC ranking, but you have them at your 1.
Yeah, I've got them at 1. The only worry that I have here is Alex Hales. He's got back in the squad, but he's dropped off a little bit over the last couple of games. That's a huge concern for me. And just a bit of an inexperience in that middle order, like the Harry Brooks and Salt. We know Salt, he's played for the Scorchers here, so it's great to see him playing out the whacker.
Local representation.
Yeah. So that's probably the only worry for me. I think, actually, I said it out the top, top league going was a big issue, but then you look at the likes of Willie, Wokes, and also Sam Curran. You can use those particular bowlers in the power play instead of Topley, because they both get the ball to swing in.
Sounds like they've got pretty good depth.
Yeah, they've got good depth in that regard, and Mills comes in and strengthens up that death bowling. For me, I just think that's better balance and puts him in a better position right now. I already had him out 1 before Mills came in, but Mills coming in, that just strengthens that position for me.
Right, very good. The Indians. What about India? I won't say your boys, but you got a big audience over in India.
Yeah, Suryakumar Yadav. He's the one for me. I just love watching him bat. He's very inventive. He's just fluent, very good on the eye. Watching him bat, I've touted him as being the leading run scorer of the tournament. He's going to be man of the series. But then I saw him out at Brisbane the other day against the Australians, and in the death overs when there was a bit of pace on, extra pace too. He was a little bit gun shy there.
Was he?
That was a warm-up match. The adrenaline might be wasn't as pumping as what it will be on the big stage. So Suryakumar Yadav, watch out for him. Do they play Rishabh Pant or Dinesh Karthik? That's the big question mark. Dinesh Karthik coming in the last 4 overs, he's very good with his ramp shots, and he can put the bowlers off their line on length, and that helps Hardik Pandya out the other end if they're batting together. Both of them are very dynamite in those last 4 overs. That's the key for me. Pant, you'd use him probably against Pakistan with the spinners that they have in the middle overs, because Pant can dominate spin. But then you're chopping in, changing your team too much. So you leave Pant out, have Dinesh Karthik in there, and they don't have a left-handed batsman out the top.
How much are some of these, you talk about ramp shot specialists, traditional batsmen versus, effectively traditional 2020 batsmen, where that, how much is there in that, players that can play that traditional game test match compared to the guys that pull out all the shots, putting the bat in each hand? I mean, it's become a big part of the game, which 10 years ago that wasn't a thing.
Yeah, it's interesting, but it's one of those games. I think Josh Butler, he's proven that you can adapt to all forms of the game, even Dinesh Karthik to a smaller extent. He hasn't played as much Test cricket, but he's got a technique that can handle that. Hardik Pandya's doing the same as well with his all-round ability. Look, the game's growing, and you've got to adapt to all these different formats if you want to get the big bucks. If you just want to play T20 tournaments, well, you're not really giving yourself much leverage in a sense. If things are going wrong in T20, well, you can't, you don't have the Test cricket to fall back on.
Yes.
So yeah, and back to India as well, just with their bowling.
Yeah.
They rely heavily on Arshdeep Singh and Bhuvneshwar Kumar to get early wickets with swing bowling. Otherwise, they're going to get killed in the back end when they're bowling.
Australia are traditionally swinging nation. Do conditions provide swing?
Jason Berendorf.
Right.
He's someone, if he's fit, I'd still have in this Australian squad.
Right.
Just for that left arm option to swing the ball. Okay. I just think that's one thing that Australia miss.
Okay, very good. Give us a one-liner on Ireland.
Clovid. No, look, they can upset a few teams as such, but they're a test playing nation now. They've been introduced there, and they're not getting that exposure to Test cricket. So the ICC and other cricket boards have really got to look at this. If you're going to try and have associate nations trying to push their way into Test cricket status, well, give them opportunities to be able to develop in that particular format against quality teams. And you don't have to play a 5-day test match. Play a 4-day test match or 5-day test match against your second team, a bit like Afghanistan.
So would the Netherlands be in that same basket?
Netherlands are just slightly off at the moment for me. I just think their middle order batting against the quicker attacks is really going to struggle. I think they've done well to get where they're at.
Ryan Campbell's it's his last tournament. He's stepping away after this tournament.
Yeah. Oh, look, he's done a great job. But they've got a lot of players that are playing county cricket over in England as well, which gives them a bit of exposure to higher level cricket. They've got a couple of South Africans in there as well, so that adds a little bit of depth. What I mean by that, they've got the passport and can go back and play, and I think that's good for the growth of the game. You want to tout it around the world. And if you're going to do that, you've got to get better players to go back to these countries to play.
What about New Zealand?
New Zealand, as I said before, when bowling is above 140 plus, they're really going to struggle, most of their batters. That's why they need Guptill to get back in there instead of Allen out the top of the order. And Mitchell, his hand injury, a lot of hand injuries before we come in here.
He's sceptical.
He's a big key as well because he's a big hitter. Good strike rate. So in the batting lineup, those two players need to fire. Kane Williamson, solid in the middle order, but if he doesn't have that power around him, then his run rate really dampens their batting lineup, and they really struggle to put a good score on the board. Lockie Ferguson is the big one for me with his extra pace and his fitness.
Can you see them winning? They were runner-up last year.
I can see them winning. I can see them upsetting a lot of teams, but it depends a lot on Ferguson and Milne, their quick bowlers, how fit they are, because you need that extra pace just to change the game up, especially in the middle overs with when you've got spin on.
What about Pakistan? We obviously got India, Pakistan, huge sellout game to kick off the weekend. How's their team shaping up? What does it look like?
Oh, look, I think they've got a well-balanced team, but it's just their middle order. They're very inconsistent in that regard. They rely too heavily on Rizwan and Babar Azam. The thing with Rizwan at the top of the order too, he likes to play square shots off a good length. Bigger boundary square here in Australia. You're going to be able to defend that a lot easier. So it's going to be harder for him to get a high strike rate. So you're able to counteract that power of his, that strength of his, with these bigger boundaries. Their bowling is their strength. Shaheen Afridi, Ralph are their keys. Both of them very good in the death overs, both wicket takers in the power play overs. And the other pace bowlers and their spin bowlers really have to step up. They're probably not as strong in that department as other teams.
Okay. What about Scotland? Look. So Scotland and Ireland, they're not that far from England, and England's good. So why is Scotland coming in ranked 13 from the ICC?
Oh, they've just been performing really well. They've been doing a pretty good job. But I haven't really been following Scotland as much as I should. But they've got a lot of courage. They've got a lot of fight. They really plan well against opposition teams, and we saw that earlier on in the tournament with their big win. Who was that against?
Don't ask me, Hoggy.
Who was that against?
Dan.
Which group are they in? Scotland?
Yeah, that was against
Sri Lanka, wasn't it?
Yes.
No. West Indies.
It was too.
Yeah, it's West Indies because they're playing today.
Very
yes.
good.
This is where you got to keep up.
Mate, so you're a cricketer and your knowledge is clearly outstanding, and you're asking an ex-footy player who's Scotland beat.
Yeah, no, it's just one of those things that you have a little bit of blank every now and then. You're going to find that
you're doing very bloody well.
Yeah, but they were very well planned against the West Indies the other day.
Is that how a minnow can beat a bigger team, being well planned, well prepared? These are their strengths. Let's take their strengths away from them.
Yeah, exactly right. And you utilise your strengths as well.
Yeah.
But if you go in there with a plan, back yourself to deliver that plan, but you're also adaptable, you're going to survive in the game. And that's what Scotland did against West Indies.
Very good.
And if teams like this, if they've got the opposition team slightly on the back foot, all of a sudden pressure's on, because you know with football, you can't just go out there and think, we're going to win this game easily, and then all of a sudden you're 5 goals behind, and to switch on from being this is going to be an easy game to we've got to go out there and really lift our game. It's very difficult, and that's where you lose your nerve. That's where you get a little bit the anger starts to clog your thoughts, and you're not as clear as what you should be.
Especially in cricket and T20 cricket. At least footy, miss a couple of goals, you got time to get yourself back in the game. Cricket, you lose 3 quick wickets early, and it's very hard to come back, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's why, I look at it, the teams that have been successful that I've been part of, you've had 5 frontline bowlers, 6 frontline batters, and one of those batters might be able to bowl a bit of part-time stuff here and there.
Yes.
So, but that was early on. Now the game's changed where they're more aggressive. They're trying to get a higher score than what we were 10 years ago. They're taking huge or bigger risks.
Lucky to have 3 bowlers in the same those days.
Yeah, exactly right. So, the dynamic changes, and you've got to try and change your game plan and your strategy to that.
Now,
go on.
No, I was going to say this next team, South Africa. I feel like these guys are sliding under the radar a little bit. I haven't heard a lot about them. I don't think many people are rating them.
Oh, look, the big thing here with South Africa, they got Bavuma in there as captain. He shouldn't even be in their T20 team.
Why?
Well, he's not good enough. And there we go. There's just a bit of music in the background for Bavuma's exit from the T20 captaincy of South African cricket. Look, I think he's done really well. Bavuma, as a test player, he should be the test captain, but just doesn't have the runs on the board, doesn't have a high strike rate, and he puts pressure on that lower order, because he's opening the batting. If he doesn't get them off to a good start, or they lose an early wicket in the power play, all of a sudden number 3's coming in as an opening batter, but knowing that they've only got 9 wickets rather than 10 wickets. Norkie's the big key for him, pace. He's one of the quickest bowlers going around. And can you cut and paste this? Well, you're going to have to now.
No, not.
Is that?
We just roll it.
Cheryl.
Let's put it on silent, Dan. You ever worked on iPhone before?
Can you just answer that and say just on?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, so Norkie's the key for them. And Riley Russo, he's been out for a while now. He's just come back in, but he's been playing a lot of T20 tournaments around the world.
Yes.
He's a big inclusion, a left-hander in that middle order to help take the pressure off David Miller with that power game out the back end.
I want a little bit of a quick summary on these ones, because we're going to whip through the back end here. Sri Lanka, they make it through the group stages. Sri Lanka's chances on doing anything in this World Cup?
Sri Lanka, no. They won the Asia Cup. And that's no light feat against Pakistan and India.
Right.
They were lackadaisy in that first game. They took it too easy, and they paid the price. They've lost Shamira with injury, their quickest bowler. But at the end of the day, they've proven that, again, they're probably further in front with experience than Scotland and the Netherlands. But they've proven that they can bring youngsters in and that don't have that experience, but just give them a role to play, and they can upset any team in the world. So I wouldn't write Sri Lanka off at the moment.
West Indies, you've written them off right at the top of the show, so we can skim past them. And Zimbabwe.
Oh, Zimbabwe.
They're a chance. They're a chance.
They're a chance
to get through. They've got to get through the group stages first. But
yeah, Raza in that middle order. He's key for them. Irvine, the captain, he's a great. He's been a good workhorse for them. Evans, but they've got some quality bowlers in there with a little bit of pace. So I think their bowling is going to keep them in the game.
Yes.
If they're chasing 160, they're half a chance. Anything more than 160. They're gone. Actually, I'll go to 150.
So, okay. I'll give you 150.
Yeah.
So, there we go. There's the World Cup preview, the summary of all the teams. Who have you got winning?
England,
Yep.
Australia, India, Pakistan.
No, you don't get to name them all. Yeah, that's 4.
Yeah, well, this is New Zealand, South Africa.
Okay, top 6?
That's my top 6, yeah.
Okay, very good. We're going to come back to that.
Yep.
Write
that down. Write that down. Note it.
Shelter Sports Carts, Will Schofield, Brad Hogg. To finish things off, Hoggy, we put a little message out to our followers and just some questions from the people for you.
Right, go for
That's
it.
all right.
Yep.
So a couple of quick fires. How did the batsman turn leg spinner eventuate, and what's more satisfying, scoring 100 or 5 for?
Scoring 100. I still remember SCG batting with Simo against India, and I thought, right, I'm 70 odd here. It's Jeff Marsh, my hero, never made 100 against the West Indies on West Indian soil. He made 99, was his top scorer over there, and he said, we just wish I made that 100. And I'm thinking, test 100 here. Next ball, Harbhajan comes in, and I just glide it to drive it out first slip. Just getting too far ahead of myself. So the 100's definitely there. But how the leg spin turned, I never bowled a leg spinner in my life till my first Shield game. In the nets the day before, I bowled a bounce at a Jeff Marsh in the nets, and he tried to pull it and it hit him in the helmet. And Tony Mann, the manager, who played for Australia as a leg spinner or a leg spinning all-rounder,
yes,
made 100 as a night watchman out the Wacker against India. He said, shouldn't do that to the captain if you want longevity. What about bowl some of these left-arm Chinamen? I said, what are these left-arm Chinamans? I've never seen anyone bowl left-arm Chinamen. So he flicked a few to me and he said, you're going to be facing one tomorrow at number 6, so you better start getting prepared for it, and you're going to help your teammates out here. So I started bowling them, and then he said, bowl a couple of wrong ones. I said, how do we do that? Flicked a couple, and I beat Damien Martin's outside edge twice. He said, you got a gift here, you better stick with it. And 2 years later, I'm over in India.
Is that a true story, or is there mail on that?
No, that's a true story, yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah. It's a little bit like Dan Constant, the under-11 Marangaroos. That's where this trophy's from, actually, Hoggy.
Yeah.
It's like,
what, is that a fifer or?
5 for 16.
5 for 16.
5 for 16. Yep, beautiful.
Would you used to bowl tweakers?
Leg spinners.
See, better than me.
I don't know. I don't know. Now, what about this one? Stephen _Gosh's impact of Bumrah not playing.
Huge. One, if they're not doing well in the power play, he can come on and just exert his presence and put pressure on the batsman, and batsman will be a little bit more tentative against him, and that's where he might pick up the wickets. If he is not used in the power play, then he can be used for a couple of overs with the spinners in the middle overs, just to try and apply a little bit of pressure for the spin out the other end.
Yes.
But death overs, that's probably where
bread and butter, isn't it?
Yeah. Look, Shami had a good day the other day against Australia, but that was a warm-up game.
Yes.
He hasn't done that well in that particular area with the history of his international career at T20. So that's a big concern for India.
Okay, very good. Alex _Paul with a double L. What's up, Alex? Did you ever get paid for playing in the Bangladesh Premier League? What's that? Okay, is that the answer? Very good. No, you don't have to. Yeah.
No. They do. Yeah, they do. Yeah. No, they're good. They're good players, Bangladesh.
There you go. Okay, very good. Kaya,
that's a tough question.
45766 plus others come back to play for Perth in the BBL. Any chance, Hoggy?
I'd love to. Absolutely.
Would you?
Love to. Yeah.
Could you? Do you think you could? Do
No.
you think you could?
No. Look, it was a wonderful
Body
time.
or mind?
Knee. Left knee. That's about it. Everything else would be right. But no, it's one of those things. I've had my day, and the team out at the moment, I'll have to say that the Wacker team, both men and women, I don't think I've seen a better culture in a sport team for a long period of time. I think the Wildcats, I think we're very lucky here in West Australia that we've had a lot of teams that have got great cultures and lead by example. And it's good to see the Dockers having that culture now.
Yep.
So I think that's one thing that WA teams can pride themselves on, and I think all our sporting organisations here in WA have just got to make sure that we stay on top of creating quality people that are playing quality sport if you put the people first, the sport will follow.
It's a bloody good point you make. I mean, Fever in the netball, Perth Heat in the baseball are trendsetters. You got West Coast and Freo doing their thing. Perth Glory, they've been a little bit up and down, but they've been a really successful side in the soccer. Of course, you got the cricket culture, perhaps the most successful cricketing state, especially at the domestic levels, and then you got the Perth Wildcats, the most successful NBL. I mean, it's a pretty special state to be a part of.
Oh, it is. It is. Look, we got some fantastic heroes here in WA, and I think we should acknowledge it. But I think we've just got to make sure that we hand that down to the next generation of sportsmen, and that's probably what I'm proud of with WA cricket. We had the issue with bangers being roped in there, but I just think that we've created a strong culture, and when they've gone up to another level in their sports, they've generally had a lot of success. They haven't been, or they haven't looked out of sorts, or when you go up to that new level where there's a lot more pressure, the paces, the game's quicker. I just think we seem to hold our nerve a lot more than other Australians. In a sense like that, from what I see anyway, and that's because we create good cultures here.
The Shelter SportsCast, done and dusted. Brad Hogg, Will Schofield. Did you have fun, Hoggy?
I did.
Will you be back?
Don't know. It depends whether my phone kept ringing. Normally I'll turn it off when I go to radio, so sorry about that. But, geez, it was beautiful, beautiful music. And it just came out the right time when we were talking about South Africa. Sorry to Bavuma, but, just sending him off with a beautiful, relaxed meditational song.
It's been unreal having you, mate.
You know why I have that relaxed music? Is when you go in and you hear this beep, beep, or, the ringtones.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just annoying.
Raises the anxiety levels.
It does. And this relaxed phone radio, and if you're looking at your phone and there's something you've got to take, and you're under a bit of stress, but you hear this beautiful, calm music, just calms you down, and you've got better chance of having a decent phone call.
We're going to have to get you to send through your ringtone to Dan, and we might clip something up for socials for that. I think if you're watching us on socials, you know where to find us. We may need to actually change this. Shelter FootyCast maybe needs a little change up over at on socials on Instagram. Send us an email if you got any questions for us. Hoggy will be back at some point to answer some more questions. FootyCast@shelterbrewing.com.au. Again, might have to change that as well. Watch us on YouTube. Listen to us on podcasts wherever you get those. We'll see you next week.
Oh, look, you can get your kicks out of cricket anyway. Just keep it as footy.